Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a fruitful discussion and gained valuable insights from the sessions. Up next on the agenda is a panel discussion on a topic that is very relevant to us as Malaysians. Not only is one of Malaysia's primary industries and its main agricultural export, but Malaysia is in fact the world's second largest producer and exporter after Indonesia. I know by now everyone has the answer in mind, and no doubt about it, it's Malaysia's palm oil. I bet you can see oil palm plantations everywhere around us, but is it sustainable? Let's find out more from our panelists who will be discussing the sustainability in today's palm oil. We are honored to have Professor Ir Dr. Dominic, a professor of process design and integration at University of Nottingham, Malaysia, together with Dr. Stephen, an assistant professor at Utah, Dr. Carmen, a manager at Eureka Synergy, and of course, Ir Dr. Kelvin, the head of technology at KL-Kepong Oleomas. With that, I will pass this session to our moderator, Mr. Prasath, who is the representative from IChemE POPSIG.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, can you hear me clear? Yep. Okay,
Yep.
Hello to all the honorable guests and as well as SOMChE participants. So we gathered today to discuss on one of the most brought up issues which closely link to many of us in many ways, the sustainability in today's palm oil. So let me start by introducing palm oil. Palm oil is a critical commodity that plays a vital role in supporting the livelihood of many communities, GDPs in many countries, as well as supporting the achievement of sustainable development goals such as no poverty, zero hunger, decent work, and economic growth. So if you simply compare palm oil with other vegetable oil, palm oil can be produced in high quantities over a relatively small area of land at almost all year round. So to put in perspective, if you would to produce the same quantity of oil, such as of other oils, such as soybean or coconut and sunflower, then you would require between 4 to 10 times more land than is required to produce palm oil. So that means by doing so, you will be shifting the problem from one part to the other part of the world. And that also means you would be endangering even more habitats, species, and communities. So then why do you think palm oil don't make good headlines? Right? By holistically viewing, don't you think the palm oil could feed the world more sustainable than any crops could imagine to do? So in today's forum, we have both industrial and as well as academic experts to weigh in their opinion on this matter. We will discuss the sustainability aspect of today's palm oil, covering protection of and preservation of forest area, improved agriculture practices and palm oil yield, as well as development of new manufacturing technology, as well as enhanced labor practices. The experts will also highlight how we have positioned ourselves to fulfill the future demand for palm oil without compromising its sustainability. So let's get started with the first question. So let me get started by asking this. What is sustainable palm oil? Professor Dominic.
Hi, Prasath. Well, to me, if you want to go with a very conventional sort of definition, we say as long as the three main elements of sustainability are abandoned within the industry, that is sustainable palm oil. The three elements are environment, economics, and social. So obviously, we are looking into improving the environmental sustainability. We are also looking at the improving the sustainability in economic aspect. I think what we need to do more is the social aspect of palm oil, because that gives a lot of a negative impression to many people outside Asian. For us, I believe we are doing something on it, but that have to be sort of told to many people outside Asian. Okay, some people have very wrong perception on that. All right, that's my take. All right, I'll leave it to other panels, see what they feel about it.
How about you, Dr. Carmen? What do you think about this? You're on mute. You are muted actually. We can't hear you. Hello, Dr. Carmen. Well, perhaps we go with Dr. Stephen on this.
Yep. Hi, Ir Prasath and everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Clear.
Okay, good. Thanks. To add on what the sustainable palm oil that been explained by Prof. Dominic just now. Well, in my opinion, to me, in a simple way, if you want to define sustainable palm oil, like we can say that basically is how we're going to produce palm oil with basically no irreversible negative impact to the environment and society. Right? When I say irreversible, because we all know that, of course, any development or any process to be done towards something like palm oil, of course, there will be some impacts or some outputs that can actually impact the environment, the surroundings of this. Of course, what we highlight here is the irreversible negative impacts, where we don't want any negative impact that can cause irreparable damage to our environment, such as the climate change and others. So this is the more simple terms that I can come up with. And we want to put it in more detail. So basically, we think that the sustainable palm oil basically refers to the basically a sustainable productions from its starting from its plantation itself, doing the nursery of the palm oil seedlings up until the harvesting, transportation, palm oil mill that covers the whole supply chains. That all this process need to be able to cause no irreversible negative impact to the environment and society. And to add on to the three elements that Prof. Dominic mentioned just now, basically the sustainable palm oil basically involve a few more criteria, like for example, no clearing of deforestation, there's no deforestation at all, and protection of the wildlife, biodiversities, also the sustainable usage of lands, because the plantations covers a whole lot area of the palm oil, and also of course the reduced greenhouse gases emission and fresh water, and basically there will be no secondary pollution that caused from any production of the palm oils. And for the society itself, basically there will be of course the fair working conditions for the labor and all the treatments of the workers. That's my view on that. Thank you.
Yeah, correctly pointed out. It's the whole view that we are talking about. How about you, Dr. Carmen? Do we have you now?
Can hear at the moment?
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. So, in my opinion, for sustainable palm oil, right? Just now, I agree with what Dr. Stephen and Prof. Dominic mentioned. To me, it's very simple. We have these new terms called NDPE, which refer to no deforestation, no peat development, and also no exploitation. So it's linked back to the economics, the social welfare, as well as the environment. So as long as we take care of these three aspects, we don't do all kind of funny things, we don't exploit our workers, I think it's considered as sustainable. Because sustainable, when we come back to the definition of this word, it means that it can run for a long period of time, maybe forever, without any pause, without any stopping in betweens. That's my definitions on it.
Okay, Dr. Carmen. How about you, Dr. Kelvin? Do you have anything to add on this?
Okay, being the last person to define this, all the general definition has been taken by almost everybody. But what Carmen say about the non-deforestation, non-peat soil, and then this in terms of no exploitation, okay, that is what KLK is committed to on sustainable palm oil production. I think just now, Prasath, a moment ago, you bring it up that in spite of the much higher oil yield per hectare of land, why is it that this remain one of the controversial vegetable oil? I think you mentioned that. I suppose that in my opinion, palm oil is typically grown in this part of the world, Malaysia and Indonesia. And as the world know that Malaysia and Indonesia are very much rich in rainforests. So I think that there is that fear that this palm oil plantation will crop into those areas where there is a sensitive rainforest. I think that is the first one. And the second one is that the growth in the palm oil plantation in the past was very rapid. Okay, it was very rapid. It is a very industrialized crop. So that actually suddenly saw an exponential growth. And that people use that as a way to project the future potential of that growth. The good thing about this is that Malaysia has introduced a cap already. Okay, so that cap is meant to actually provide that answer to people that we are only going to grow up to a particular target of a hectare of land. If I remember correctly, it's about 6 over millions. And then that Malaysia also guarantee that more than 50% of the land remains to be forest land. So there are things that we do to mitigate that, but the concern comes of probably because of the locality where palm oil is being grown in this part of the world, where, you know, in particular in the Borneo Island, I think it's a very popular things in the mind of the Western world. So that actually triggers that, and then the growth. So that is my add-on comment about the concern about palm oil sustainability. Thank you, Prasath.
Okay, Dr. Calvin, thank you for your view and also sharing that concern. Maybe we go with the second question, right? Destroying the rainforest has been a major implication in curbing climate change, where the trees can absorb about a third of planet's warming emissions produced worldwide, can also release carbon back into the air when they rot or are burned. So, Professor Dominic, as a subject editor for environmental protection, in your view, what is the palm oil industry doing to stop deforestation? You're muted. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, now. All right, I guess you need to ask this question to those planters. Me being editor, we just look on paper. If it reports fine, then it's fine. If it report not okay, then it's not okay. Maybe you should ask this to the practitioners.
So based on some of this, what you gather, would you be able to share some view on that?
Now, my personal perspective is this. When you talk about deforestation, it happens everywhere. But to me, if I deforest this particular, remove a forest and plant it with something, it's still absorbing CO2. But if this is deforest every year, this is not good. Okay. But one thing we need to bear in mind is that our palm oil plantation lasts for 30 years before you replant it. It is not the yearly crops that you have to replant every year. Once you plant it, it lasts for 30 years. But there are also reports saying that there is a huge carbon debt because of palm deforestation, because of palm oil plantation. Okay, this is something that I don't want to comment much. After all, I'm not doing LCA. But from my perspective, if you can reduce deforestation, okay, whatever is really planted, okay, keep it. Okay, whatever forest that is still existing, don't do further. Okay, that's the best thing that we can do lah. Okay, that's my own perspective.
So it's like palm oil in a way is even better than some of the seasonal crops out there, right?
Oh, of course. In terms of yield, in terms of usefulness, you're not only getting food product from palm oil, you are also getting some biomass which can be used for energy resources. So to me, this is a very high yield kind of crops compared to many other crops. Lots of other crops can only be used for food or fuel. Palm oil is for both. And you don't have to suffer food and energy nexus because you harvest the oil for food, and at the same time you have the biomass that can be used for energy. So we are not only deforesting for the sake of fuel, we actually use it for food, and at the same time you feed the fuel from the palm biomass. Okay, of course the current problem is whether do we speak what do you call that? Converse the message enough to the people outside the industry or not? Do we have we done that? Okay, it's probably not to the extent that it should be done.
Well, very well said, Prof. Dominic. Dr. Stephen, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I add on to Prof. Dominic's. Yeah. Based on from the information I've gathered so far, I think the palm oil industry have already did quite a good job to actually put in the efforts to stop deforestation. So, like for example, ever since when those deforestation issue been brought up, I think the palm oil industry that have formed, for example, the RSPO, the Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil, back in 2004 that time. So in that group, I think they have some no deforestation task group or committees to actually look further closely into this deforestation and how they can engage with different stakeholders to actually stop deforestation. So I think in their task group actually have done a lot of like for example certifications and auditings of the palm oil industry in order to stop these practices. Of course, I have to be honest as well. Of course, due to all these efforts that those people have done on this one, but we have to be honest that deforestation is still ongoing and is still continuing even until this day. So, but I think what we can actually take a lesson from that is that the efforts actually have the effects already, because from what I can recall, I've read several articles back that there's a link or research that shows that the deforestation pace or the rates already been slowed down, especially in the last few years. Some of them might link it to the COVID situation, but some actually think that it can also be linked back to the effects of the stakeholders that have done a good job on that. So that can actually reduce the rate of deforestation. So we hope that with the continuous improvement, especially from the RSPO and also from the local authority enforcement, I think we can help to further stop this deforestation issue from actually become a more widely problems. I think if the palm oil stakeholders in our palm oil industry that can actually really be serious in their supply chain, they look carefully in their supply chain and say that, no, if your palm oil is shipped from those non-sustainable palm oil or is from deforestation area, then no, they're not going to go to their mill or whatever, and that can really help to actually alleviate this issue. And of course, they have to also report those violations to the authority, as like what Dr. Kelvin already said. I think Malaysia already have a cap to the total palm oil planted areas. But of course, in this case, sometimes the enforcement might be very hard, especially in the Borneo region, the Sabah Sarawak regions, where the rural area is sometimes very hard to actually monitor. So I think when all the stakeholders come together and try to enforce something and be firm on their decisions that there'll be no palm oil coming from this deforestation area, then I think there'll be more effect from that. Yeah, that's my output for that. Thank you.
What's the regulatory body in Sabah? They're supposed to look at the number of area. Which body? Which local authority?
The local authority, I'm not very sure about that. Yeah, maybe someone can help.
Sorry, maybe Dr. Stephen, going back to your question, this deforestation, in your opinion, do you think it's purely based on palm oil, or is it, or is just something that you have come across?
Yeah, of course, initially, I think when palm oil has been growing at a huge pace, I think about last decade ago, I think deforestation basically can mostly be linked to palm oil, because there's the time where the palm oil plantation is growing at a fast pace. But right now, I think as like even our Malaysian government has put a cap to this palm oil plantation area, and I think the palm oil expansion in our country is really starting to slow down. And basically, even those palm oil developers that want to actually deforest the area, so they're fighting hard to actually get any forest to actually deforest as well. So this actually stop some of the deforestation. But of course, from the news I heard, of course, recently there are some deforestation activity also going on in our country. But I think I feel quite relieved also to see that at least this deforestation, basically they are not linked to the palm oil plantation. So basically the other factors as well, or other commercial activities that are also linked to these deforestations. Yeah.
So there are something good going on, right, in this industry right now, that
yes,
palm oil related deforestation are very, very much slowing down.
Correct.
Okay. And any take from Dr. Kelvin or Dr. Carmen? Do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, I can add something into that. So to the question of deforestation, I think for the companies who are part of the members of IRSPO, that itself will automatically regulate those practices. Okay, so as pointed out just now by Stephen about that you support the company that is in IRSPO, that is a very important step. Okay, basically you are able to distinguish company that practice good agricultural practices versus the one that is non. I overheard the question just now about who regulates whether deforestation, whether forest land can be converted to industrial crop. Okay, the ministry, I am not so sure, but whenever you produce palm oil and you want to sell palm oil, you need to get a license from MPOB. Okay, so you cannot just simply grow palm oil and then you just want to sell it to the market. That doesn't work in Malaysia. Essentially, all palm oil traders require the license from MPOB. Now, if I base on this logic, meaning to say any what you call it, individual who wish to open up a land, whether they get a permission to convert the land or otherwise, they still eventually have to sell through the markets through MPOB indirectly. In that sense, then it will be regulated already. Okay, because then you have to disclose where's the source, and naturally it will reveal. Okay, it will reveal. Now, I do not foresee that going forward, more forest land will be intentionally converted to palm oil. I think there's enough publicity, there's enough media coverage, and there's enough public awareness, and public will be the one who complain those conversion. It doesn't have to go. I mean, local public will be the one who is becoming the eyes and ears on that. So organization like KLK, like where I'm in, what we are doing primarily now is in trying to improve the oil yield per hectare. We are looking on increasing the productivity from the same given land. Okay, that is very important because land now is already a constraint, right? You can only improve the productivity if you're not going to expand any more land. That's number one. And lately also, some of you who are following the news, that there's a lot of merger happening among the palm oil companies, including KLK. So there is we acquire IJM so that we can convert the additional what you call it plantation under IJM to RSPO and make more access to sustainable palm oil. Okay, so for your information, prior to IJM acquisition, all the Malaysia plantation is already in RSPO certified, which means we automatically will not allow planting of palm oil in forest land. We will not allow that. Okay, and additionally now, as we widen the our palm oil plantation through acquisition, that means that for the non-RSPO, initially non-RSPO plantation, we will also convert that. Okay, we will also convert that, and so that we will provide a greater amount of supply to the market from a sustainable source. I think organization has the obligation and the capability to do so. Okay, and that is quite helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kelvin, for your input. Let's move to something slightly similar. Question. Malaysia and Indonesia are among the more than 100 nations that pledged to halt deforestation by 2030 at November's COP26 climate change. Judging by the current progress in this area, do you believe that Malaysia will be successful in its commitment to COP26? COP26 also means 26th UN Climate Change Conference of Party. If no, what Malaysia should be doing? Perhaps Dr. Dominic. Professor Dominic, sorry.
Yeah, I think if we really go on that particular pledge, I think we can fulfill that. I have no doubt on that. The question is only how serious we are. How everybody knows that Malaysia have a lot of good plan, but enforcement is the weakness of us. Everybody knows that. So if we really follow strictly on that plan, I think we can achieve. Okay. Now it's a matter of enforcement, and you also know that whenever government change, then plan will change. So how serious can we stick on the same old plan whenever the new government change? And we don't know when it will change. It can be tomorrow. It can be next year. Okay, it's supposed to be next year, but now you look. Everybody also knows that now the situation is a bit shaky. Maybe end of the year, maybe October, maybe before or after the budget, or maybe tomorrow. So you don't know. So on paper, yes, can be done, can be achieved, but practically we'll see. Okay, but hopefully the politician will still pay a little bit of attention. Don't need too much. Okay, after all, most people don't trust politicians, so that we don't have to trust them too much. We just need to make sure that they need to give us something like let's say 10% of their political will to ensure whatever has been planned will put in practice in the real place. Okay, and ensure this make a move to fulfill whatever have been pledged. Even don't talk about Malaysia. You look at US. Okay, they signed the Paris Agreement. They also pull out because of the very clever or stupid president. So not only Malaysia, everywhere is the same. Okay, now Europe says that natural gas is considered renewable energy some more. So how smart they are. Anyway, so I think on paper, if we go according to the paper, yeah, I think we can get there. Okay, and all of us have to push our stress on achieving it. Okay, for the better future for us, for our next generation or next generation.
So your say here is staying committed and enforcement, then we can achieve this pledge, right?
Yeah.
And how about you, Dr. Carmen? Do you have
guys, I need to make a move because I'm hosting a guest now.
Sure.
So I will stay another 2-3 minutes and I will make a move. You guys can continue. Yeah, thanks for having invited me.
Yep.
So I can't stay for the whole forum.
So adding to what Prof. Dominic mentioned just now, I also got looked through what are the statements that being made at that time during this event by our minister, Dato Sri Tuan Ibrahim, which is the Minister of Environment and Water. So out of the 8 measurement statements that they signed or pledged during the events, during the COP26, 2 of them, I think it is related to this cause of deforestation. So the first one is to maintain at least 50% forest cover, and also to implement by planting 100 million trees. Okay, they didn't state the due dates, but they have the effort, they have the idea, and hopefully they will take the efforts to make this realized. Okay, so as Dr. Stephen mentioned just now, in Sabah also we have actually monitored that there is a decrease in the primary forest loss between 2020. So initially, if it's compared to 2016 to 2019, the forest loss is about 11.1%. But now the trend has been decreased back in 2020. So this could be due to COVID, but it also could be due to the reduce in the land required for oil palm plantations, because oil palm plantations once planted, it is really, as compared to those annual crop, it really can be sustained for a longer period of time. And I think in terms of deforestation, right, we also shouldn't all pinpoint to oil palm plantations or oil palm industry, because land has also been cleared for their wood trunk, for logging activities, and also for housing developments, for other agricultural products, plantings. Like I think in Malaysia, recent 5 years, durian has been taking slowly pick up. The plantations of durian has slowly picked up to chasing behind the oil palm. That's why I think most of the land clear, especially at Pahang area, they may not just be used for oil palm. That's why I think we shouldn't pinpoint all the fingers to the plantations.
So we
That's
need
my
to
opinion.
establish some sort of sustainability certificate for durian now, right?
Yeah, they should eventually.
Well said, Dr. Carmen. So let's move on to in a different angle, right? How do you think the palm oil is meeting the adoption of UN Sustainable Development Goals? Perhaps you could give your view in how, what, and where we are meeting these goals. Professor Dominic, would you be able to take this?
Sorry, I didn't pay enough attention. Repeat your question again.
How do you think the palm oil is meeting the adoption of UN Sustainable Development Goal? Perhaps you
not full force yet. I think the big companies like SOMChE, KL-K, IOI, they are doing really good job on trying to incorporate sustainability aspects into their plantation manufacturing. Well, of course, you talk about UN SDG, there are 17 goals. Well, I think they have done at least about half of those. But the main problem in Malaysia is there's a big portion of our planters are small, medium holders. Okay, some of them only hold 10 acres of land. These are a lot. So these are the people who we have to go after and push them and cane them, and whether you want to use carrots or stick, do whatever you like to get them comply. It's like something like what MBOB did last time. Okay, if you don't do carbon methane capture, we're not going to renew a license. You have to do that for these people. Okay, or else they're not going to comply, because to them, making money is more important than reducing CO2. Okay, their main agenda is to make money, not to reduce CO2. Okay, they will keep on telling you that my main agenda is to make money. Make money is my main agenda. Okay, CO2, leave it to the big guys to hold it. But these are the people who are also contributing a lot to the CO2 and methane emission. So if you can force these people to move on, I think we can meet this in, let's say, 5 to 10 years time. If they are not cooperating, it's really going to be very difficult.
So we should be targeting the smallholders, right?
The big one are doing their job. Okay, you can ask Kelvin. I think they are really doing their job. So I don't think we have a problem with this.
Well, what do you think, Dr. Kelvin?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Dominic. I think it's a very true. Yeah, very true that all the major palm oil producer, we are very much committed because we have a very long vision about the company and then the industry as a whole. Let's give an example. KL-K is already have 110 years of history. So the company is looking at going forward the next 50 years, the next 100 years. How is it going to be? Now, so this question about climate change, about commitment, I think it's not really a choice anymore. Okay, everybody is feeling the effect, right? Everybody is feeling the effect, and then within their capacity, they make those decisions, like having 100% RSPO certified plantation and products. Okay, so really, I think that the smallholders that was mentioned a while ago, they will probably need a lot more encouragement. The carrot and stick thing, they probably need a lot more encouragement, support from the government, as also regulatory push. Okay, I think there is a plan in Malaysia to get all small holders to register with Mspo. I think they were planned at that. I don't remember the years, but there is going to be an enforcement of that to all small holders. All right. So yeah, that is my input of that.
How about your from Professor Dr. Stephen?
Yeah, basically, I also agree with Prof. Dominic and Dr. Kelvin. So basically, the smallholders really play a very important role in helping the palm oil to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Well, but if we look at the palm oil itself, I can really say that the palm oil tree itself actually has a very great treasure, as not only we can produce palm oil from there, but all of its other type of biomass waste, such as the empty fruit branch, the palm oil fronds, palm oil trunk itself, it's a very great treasure which we can actually make into a lot of other variety of products. So if you want to compare the palm oil tree, basically it has a very much higher carbon absorption or sequestration capability compared to other similar vegetable crops, like for example in the westerns, like the rapeseed or the soybean. So this is something that I think is very important to actually meet one of the UN Sustainable Development Goal, where they want to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions. So I think palm oil tree is really a very good vegetable crops compared to the others. And if you look at the products that it can produce, for example, the palm oil itself, it has a lot of nutrients and can be made into a lot of food products. So it can help to alleviate the hungers, the issues of the poverties as well. And also on the health issues, where in palm oil itself, we all know that it have a lot of antioxidants such as the carotenoids, vitamin E's, and also it has huge amount of unsaturated fats. So this actually can add a lot of plus points to the palm oils, especially in meeting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And not to mention, of course, the other products that it can produce, like the renewable energies, like the biogas, what Prof. Dominic mentioned just now, the biogas from the methane emissions, they all can be converted into a lot of energies where it can help to actually in the rural area where they are in scarcity of these resources, they can actually make use of these resources to actually help to improve their livelihood. So I think this palm oil is really one of the center points for these topics. Yeah, thank you.
Yourself, Dr. Carmen?
I think for me to add on from industrial point of view, most of the oil palm company, be it plantation, oil mill, or refineries, we are actually complying to all the laws and regulations in order to run the process. So this is one of the efforts that we've been taken to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal. As a part of that, we also all comply under MSPO. I think currently most of the big players, I think all of the big players and mostly smallholders, they are moving forward to these MSPO certifications. So by certified under MSPO means that we do agree we wanted to comply to a sustainable environment. And for palm oil mill or palm oil plantations, they are usually located at the rural area. So they are able to provide job opportunity for local community. So in another way, it helps the local community to grow and to solve their poverty problems. So in a way, I think these are all the efforts that from the industry point of view have been taken to maintain the sustainable goals to be achieved. So I think one more is we do oftenly join force with the local authorities such as DOE or JKKP department to conduct roadshows, seminar or campaigns for educational purposes for the local schools or local people. So in a way, we educate them. Oil palm is actually not doing harm, not as compared to the previous 20 or 30 years. We are actually trying to reduce all those deforestation issue or other exploitation issue, and then we are taking our own responsibility to be sustainable in this industry.
So the environment, how we are operating right now, the industry, palm oil industry is very different compared to those days, right? So this is the overall message I get from this discussion, as well as, we are actually adopting and trying our best to actually meet this UN Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, since
Prasath,
MSPO...
Prasath, if I can add, Prasath, I think just now there were a moment ago trying to separate between the few big producer, palm oil planters and producer versus those smallholders.
Yes.
I think I also want to iterate, in my opinion, is that and in KL-K we also practicing that the big producer has a significant influence to the small producer as well. In what way, right? In what way? For example, it's about sourcing sustainable palm oil products, right? Palm oil. So to some extent, the big producer can influence, can create that demand for sustainable palm oil. And that means that the small holders also will eventually need to convert because there is a demand from there. Okay, so that essentially is also what we are doing, and the industry, the palm oil industry generally needs to do. Not just about the overall market, even within the local market, we have a great influence on the type of standard that we expect from everybody in the industry. We set the goal, we go for it, and then the rest of the players will also have to be at that goal, because the market will expect that sort of standard, okay, that sort of quality, that sort of what you call it, the practices, okay, and eventually it become a common thing. Then this topic, this title of sustainable in today's palm oil will no longer be relevant. You know, it's a standard thing. So everybody know that it is palm oil on its own is sustainable. That is the goal. Thank you, Prasath.
So you correctly pointed out also, Dr. Kelvin, right? So big organizations are actually trying to set those standards and try to onboard the smallholders who are actually being in the supply chain, right? Okay, so on a separate or quite related topic that we've been discussing or kind of mentioned a few times was the MSPO certification, right? So we see that Malaysian government is promoting this MSPO. Maybe Dr. Carmen, would you be able to say why MSPO, where we can actually fully adopt this RSPOs or Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil? Why Malaysian government choose to actually go with the MSPO instead of adopting this RSPO, and what are the challenges there are with RSPO that's actually causing this issue?
Okay, so first of all, we need to understand that MSPO is built from RSPO. So these two standards, they share the similarity. They have developed a set of environmental and social criteria where companies, smallholders, or any players in this oil palm plant industry have to comply in order to produce certified sustainable palm oil. So this is the same goal that being shared under these two certificates. So for Malaysia, we are same like Indonesia. We come up with our own standards so that this MSPO, it will be more practical and more suitable for our current practice in our Malaysia. Just like in Indonesia, they have ISPO. So for RSPO, it is more of voluntary basis, means that it is not being enforced by any regulatory body so far. So by voluntary basis means that if you're interested, if you are committed, only you apply. You apply for that. But MSPO is not the same. Back in 2019, MSPO has been made mandatory in Malaysia. It's like a law. Just like if you don't have the MPOB license, you cannot run the oil mill or you cannot run the refineries. So in a way that this MSPO is being backed by our government. So they can give more focus for the smallholder planters. Because if not mistaken, RSPO, they require annual fees. Before you being certified under RSPO certifications, we have to register ourselves as a member, and then immediately it will be charged the annual membership fees. If not mistaken, it's about Euro 2,000, which is equivalent to more than 10,000 ringgit per year. So the auditing cost is also higher for RSPO. That's why for bigger player, it's not a problem, not too much problem for them, because they have their own professional teams, they have their departments to support these certifications. But for the smallholders, they are not able to perform that. Because when we talk about smallholder, means that it could be only one of them, one-man show, running for the whole plantations to take care of the 3 to 5 hectares of land. So, and a lot of them, they may not be educated. And because this is a voluntary scheme, so there is no government officer to back them up. That's why it is not that suitable as compared to MSPO. That's why Malaysia government, we have go through this RSPO scheme, the standard requirements in there, and then we adopted most of the principles from RSPO, slightly modified to suit our current practice here. For example, I think RSPO standard mentioned that there is a new planting cutoff date by 2007. Means that by 2007 onwards, all the primary forests, if there is being converted into oil palm plantation, they will not be able to certify under RSPO. But for Malaysia's MSPO, we don't have this criteria. So in a way to say that it is more lenient. It is more lenient, more easy to be fulfilled by the Malaysian industry or this oil palm industry. And I think RSPO standard and the compliance requirement is always being upgraded, always changing, because they have more committee members to put in efforts from the worldwide, to put in efforts to how I say, to make these certificates more complete. So in the long run, it will become more expensive, and it will make this sustainable, should be a sustainable standard, become non-sustainable, because it will make the oil palm lost its price competitiveness. Imagine if the company, they have to hire a special team, as professional teams to maintain these certifications. Let's say if it's a small SME company, they only have 1 or maybe 2 oil mills, but they have to add on their costing annually in order to maintain this certificate. So it will be a burdensome for them. Yeah, so it is more suitable for big organizations. They are easier to comply, but for smallholder and also SME companies, they may be challenging for this RSPO. I think that's my opinions on this.
Okay, Dr. Carmen. Well, for the audience, I've not explained clearly. MSPO is Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil certification. RSPO is Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil certification. Perhaps, Dr. Kelvin, do you have anything to share on this?
I think Carmen has explained it very well. I am just going to add an opinion to this, not really a comparison, but an opinion. I would say that it is better to have a regulation, okay, to regulate the smallholder than having none. Okay, so if you have an RSPO today, and then you have a very substantial size of smallholders that is not on board on the RSPO, then what the country can do, right? So the country has come up with an MSPO in order to get this group to still have meet up a minimum standard internationally on sustainable palm oil, right? They still have this. That is one opinion of mine. The second opinion of mine is that initially, like mentioned here, it was voluntary, right? There's a period where any planters decided to join, they will join it voluntarily. But since the 2020, it has now been enforced as a law. So as a country, you can enforce the law that you create within your country, right? So Malaysia, MSPO, Indonesia, their own version, right? But you cannot enforce RSPO in Malaysia. So you have to enforce the standards that you create. You have to adopt that as a standard to your country, and then you can follow through. So there's a legal aspect to that as well, in my opinion. Okay, because it is RSPO remains to be voluntarily, and how do you enforce it to the local companies if you do not have a particular standard, right? That becomes a dilemma. So in my view, it's better to have something to regulate than to have nothing to regulate. And that regulation is enforceable if it is localized, if it is created in that particular country, compared to having an international. Yeah, that's my comment on the MSPO.
Yeah, something that the Malaysian government is doing so that it can be easily adopted by the industry here or the locals here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into another question. Are there ways to make palm oil more environmentally friendly? Can palm oil be produced without affecting the biodiversity? Dr. Carmen, this is your area.
In short, if you ask my opinion, can palm oil be produced without affecting the biodiversity? Well, in short, the answer is no. Any kind of agricultural products or any industries, they will somehow affect the biodiversity in any way, in some way, whether serious or not serious. But we do have to have the power to improve our productions and make it more sustainable. So in my opinion, we can probably have this kind of new ideology, we call it as a wildlife corridors, to be placed in between the plantation. So a wildlife corridor is actually referred to a natural habitat that connects a populations of wildlife. It's like a forest area. We don't, as in when we do the oil palm plantations setting up, when we do the plannings for deforestation back in time, maybe we can reserve some of the forest land. But if the plantation has already been existed, already been operated, so we can maybe during our replanting session, we can reserve some of the area to convert back into a natural habitat, into a wildlife corridor. So this corridor, they can contain of conserved lands, and it will be between the plantation so that it allows big mammals or any other animals to move around. So or if there is a this kind of corridors. So another point is perhaps we can think of growing oil palm on an unused farmland. Means that previously they are agricultural land, but they are left unused. So if those kind of land is available, it is better to use those land as compared to do deforestation, because the amount of the biodiversity on this unused farmland is way lower as compared to rainforest. So I think these two could be the alternative way that we can be practiced in order to make palm oil plantations or palm oil productions more environmental friendly.
So, Dr. Carmen, is that being practiced right now, right? Because we understand this wildlife corridor seems like you need a lot of collaboration between different agencies and organizations.
Yeah, honestly speaking, I think in Malaysia we have not been practicing this yet. Most of us, even the big players, also not yet started. But I think uni level they have made an effort in it back in Indonesia. But in our country, I think it's a time that we can start to think about it.
Okay. And then would you be able to also share some of these improved agriculture practices? What are you working on in this area?
Okay, so in terms of the agricultural practices that are usually being practiced here, I think we need to have a full set of integrated management. Means that we need to control the harvesting, pest control, application of pest control chemicals, or manuring schedules to be tightened. And then we should carry out record keeping from a daily basis. And at the same time, take care of the personal health and safety of the workers. So this whole package of integrated management should be the basic things that being practiced in all agricultural plantations. So in terms of improved practice, I think we can start from the seedling. So if not mistaken, currently our palm variety are mostly Tenera, majority Tenera species, which can produce more oil for the same area of land. So on top of this Tenera variety, there is efforts being made to upgrade this variety. So for example, like Yang Gampi ML161 by FGV, and then this CPS3 from MPOB, as well as another variety that being ongoing by MPIC. So all these variety, they are targeting to have more bunches, to produce more bunches, more oil yield, and also to improve their resistance towards pathogens. If I'm mistaken, Yangambi has been pre-inoculated with this biocontrol agent, we call it Trichoderma species, before we do the replanting. So in a way that the oil palm will get a early immunity towards this Ganoderma disease. And as apart from the bunch and oil yield, secondary traits such as dwarfism is also being looked into it for these few years. Means that they are targeting to have an oil palm variety which is a low growing variety. It may only go up to 20 feet as compared to the normal palm, which is about 40 to 50 feet tall. So other than that, other than the seedling selections, we should also be reducing the tendency on the chemical usage. For example, we can use organic fertilizer to replace the chemical fertilizer usage. And then for the pesticide and herbicide, we can be looking at biological control, which is environmental safe. And of course, in terms of to reduce the dependency on the labor force, machinery, different type of machinery has also been introduced in the previous few years in order to reduce down their labor, reduce down their workforce. So for example, I think MPOB have come out this motorized cutter for the FFB harvesting. And also there is a robot suit that the workers can wear, and it can somehow help the worker to lift heavy FFB, heavy bunches. It can protect their spine and also the backbone. Okay, so this is somehow like the advanced technology that being applied to the plantations, as well as for fertilizer spreader. I think it is also majoritarily being practiced in oil palm plantation, which doesn't have any slope terrace. Of course, for slope terrace, we have no choice. We have to go back to the manual way. But for clear land, they can consider to use this fertilizer spreader. In fact, it's being used at our plantation as well.
Oh, there's a lot of fascinating things going on in this phase here. I was interestingly puzzled with this shorter trees. You know how much benefit it can do, right? 40 feet versus 20 feet, right? And also on the harvesting. Yeah, it will easen up a lot of these harvesting practices, as well as on the mechanization of it, right? Of having some robotic and all that. Imagine if that really comes into the industry, and how we can actually leverage on that.
Benefits from that.
So, and I will move into the next question. Before I get into more of questions related to renewable energy, I would like to ask, especially Dr. Stephen and Dr. Kelvin, should palm oil even be used for renewable energies? We start with Dr. Stephen.
I think Dr. Kelvin, you have something you want to say, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can say,
Yeah, I was just going to clarify just now about the effect of palm oil to biodiversity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is true. We cannot run away doing any industrial crop without affecting biodiversity. But what is the alternative to other vegetable oil, right? Because population growth, you will need to supply food, and cooking oil is, and any product derived by vegetable oil will remain to be an important food to the population. So the other choice doesn't really look good, actually. I think that should be the general audience need to be aware of. Like you mentioned at the beginning of the session, Prasad, you're talking about 6 to 7 times higher oil yield, right? 6 to 7 times higher oil yield. So if you're going to plant a particular oil crop, and say you switch to palm oil to soybean, then you will have to have 6 to 7 times more land. And then it would have more severe impact than to just grow palm oil. That's number one point that I thought it's important to clarify to the audience here. Number two, regarding on the forest conservation, okay, in KL-K, we do have a forest conservation program. It's just that it is not in Malaysia. Okay, we have that in Indonesia. So it is true what Carmen said, that even the big players do not have the forest conservation in Malaysia, but we do have in Indonesia. Okay, we do have Indonesia, and we support the Indonesia forest for as much as 9,000 over hectare. Is part of our CSR program. And this is very crucial because if you look at Indonesia, you have an extreme poverty, and then most of this group will tend to resort to agricultural as a way out for them. And if you do not provide a job opportunity in a more efficient kind of oil crop, then naturally they would have to continue to clear the forest to do whatever that they plan to do, whether it's for corn or for whatever things that they plan to do. So as part of the forest conservation that KL-K take parts in the Indonesia, it also would mean that we are not just preserving the forest, we also have to provide the opportunity for the people there. Okay, employment opportunity for their growth there. So it has to be a balance between what the general lingo in KL-K is the people, the planet, and the profit. Now, all these three elements, we are trying to balance all these three. Okay, so yes, they are major palm oil players who are active in the forest conservation, and KL-K is doing that in Indonesia. So that's the two things that I wanted to just mention here, so that the audience aware of the other things happening, maybe not necessarily in Malaysia, but in elsewhere of the world. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for your input, Dr. Kelvin. Sorry that I did not read to you earlier, but I also come across this highly voted question, which is from the audience. Sustainability is a long-term fight. What can the palm oil industry, especially Malaysia palm oil, do to remain as the top sustainable oil in the future? Perhaps, Dr. Kelvin, maybe you want to weigh in something on this?
Okay. Yeah. I not sure whether this statement still valid or not. But some time ago, there was this question and asked about this sustainable palm oil. Okay, but if you really go into the market and ask which of the oil crop that actually have a sustainability label to it, I think palm oil is the only one at this juncture that I know of. Okay, that means you go soybean, rapeseed oil, whatever oil in the world today, and if you're looking for, oh, I want to buy a sustainable soybean oil, okay, you say you want to do that, right? Actually, there is, as far as I know, I may be wrong because this was about 2-3 years ago, you cannot buy that in the market. There's no existence of such standard. In other words, actually, the questions that is being asked is exactly what is happening today. That palm oil at this moment is the only dominant oil that has a sustainable label to that. And in my mind, that is really what originally is coming to be attacking or try to discredit palm oil has now becomes a value proposition for people to continue to use palm oil. Okay, because it is the only crop that has a certification, international certification body to get it approved and say, okay, your vegetable oil, this vegetable oil is coming from sustainable source. The same cannot be said for other oil crop. So I think that would be a very good way to give a very confident view to, oh yes, exactly, yes. It's a very confident view to the members in this audience here, all of you who are in Malaysia or in somewhere near to Malaysia, that it is really we are taking something that is seemingly attacking us, and we have come out very strongly. Obviously, we have to continue. We have to continue, right? But I think we are doing quite well. Our game now is to get all the industrial players on board on RSPO and MSPO or whatever Indonesia. And I think we will be very strong. We will be very strong because we are the only one certified sustainable. Yeah, thank you.
Indeed, Dr. Kelvin, you well said, right? The only certified oil crop in the world. I hope that's the same still, right? How about you, Dr. Stephen?
Yep, maybe can add on to what Dr. Kelvin has been just now. Yes, basically it's true. Basically, among all the vegetable oils, as far as I know, so palm oil is the one mostly being targeted, and also due to all these attacks about its sustainability. So all the stakeholders have to come out with a solution to address these sustainability issues. But I think it's basically a good is a good thing, because due to all these attacks, we can actually pay more attention to the issues, sustainability issues surrounding palm oils, and then we can actually take proactive steps to actually address it. Imagine if, let's say, we don't have all these attacks and all these debates coming out from palm oil. I don't think that we'll actually see the improvement that we get, such as today, on this sustainability of the palm oil. So I think in a way, it's actually a pretty good things. And on the way and how we can actually make sure and also continue the efforts to make sure our palm oil is sustainable. So in my opinion, I think currently, most of the palm oil stakeholders, those biggest companies that involving in palm oil, I think they have mostly already adhere to those sustainability principles, where they cut down, they don't take in the palm oil from deforestation, and they conserve the wildlife, like what KL-K they have been doing, and also they take care of the welfare of their workers, the social issue aspects as well. So all these, I think those larger companies, they have no problem meeting the sustainability targets. So I think the main issues, again, I think will be on the smaller stakeholders, where due to their numerous quantity, as well as their lack of capability to actually the financial capabilities to adhere to all the important sustainability issues, where, of course, to address these sustainability issues, it's not cheap also. It requires money, where you need to have the auditing and certification practices. So in this case, this will be down to the enforcement, and also how the government and also other bigger palm oil stakeholders in our country can actually help and align these smaller stakeholders to actually fulfill the sustainability criteria as well. I think that will be a very important issue. Of course, if they can adopt those newer technologies from the research and development, I think that will help to actually cut down and reduces their investment as well. So I think that would be very important. Yeah, thank you.
So in other words, I would say more pressure, the better it is, right? We change to be even better.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
Fight even better, right? Okay. I think we are also running short on time. Let me get into the next question. This is something related to renewable energy, right? Should palm oil even be used for renewable energies? Dr. Stephen.
Okay, yeah, I think this is a very interesting question, and also has been a question that's constantly being under debate. So I think in my opinion, again, this is just for my personal opinions, of course. Let's talk about the cons on the why the palm oil being used for renewable energy, such as biodiesel, bioethanol, such etc. So one of the important cons that people have been raising is on the food versus fuel debate, of course, because we all know that palm oil is major vegetable oils used for foods processing, such as margarines, chocolates, cooking oils, all these food processing products. So of course, if you use this palm oil to produce as fuel, then people will start arguing and say that this will actually help to reduce the food supply and might even increase the food prices from the palm oil itself. But again, from what I can observe, basically, this basically is still not a very critical issue yet, because as we look from the palm oil's quantity that has been reserved for these conversions to biodiesel productions, I think currently, it's still not a lot. I think it's still around 10% or less for that. So this, I think it doesn't really affecting the food supply chain as of now currently. And if you look at the Western countries like Europe, Americans, they're still also using their soybean and also rapeseed, so this also vegetable oils to actually produce their biodiesels. So, and of course, people pointing out that there are people in Africa which they are actually undernourished, and also their lack of food. I think their main issue is not due to this food supply, is mainly due to the accessibility issues instead of the food supply issue. So this is something that I think we need to have a closer look before we can actually conclude that palm oil is really causing the shortage of the food or increasing the prices of that. And then also look at another cons where, of course, if we convert some of the palm oil into biodiesel, then it can increase the demand of the palm oil, and besides raising prices, it might also cause one of the main issues that cause the deforestation. So again, I said this deforestation issue, I think we have already a lot of existing, like the RSPO, MSPOs, and a lot of authorities are also looking at this. So I think this also will be a problems that we can actually tackle. So in terms of the cons, I don't think it will be a major issue if we convert part of the palm oil that are available into the renewable energies. And if we look at the pros of converting palm oil to renewable energies, like when we are using biodiesel, for example, we all know that biodiesel we use it to replace the mineral diesel which comes from fossil fuels. So basically the pros of biodiesel basically is renewable, it's non-toxic, and also environmental friendly. So this can actually help to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, as what we already pledged during the previous the Copenhagen's meeting, the environmental meetings early on, as they pointed out. So I think biodiesel plays a main role in helping to address that. And in terms of emission also, I think biodiesel has I think I would say it's a cleaner emission characteristics compared to fossil fuels. It has less hydrocarbons, particulate, and also even sulfur content. And we also look at why people are using biodiesel to replace these fossil fuels, because as of currently, you can see that biodiesel as of now is still one of the best fit-in fuels, where it can actually be adopted or absorbed into our existing energy infrastructure without any major changes. In other words, you can basically save a lot of the capital cost if you actually want to change your energy infrastructure to cater to other renewable energies. But for biodiesel, there's not much changes, so it can actually fit in easily. So also, one of the good things is that the biodiesel technology is not very complicated compared to others processes, so can actually be produced in a small scale, even by the small stakeholders in the rural areas. So this is also one of its advantages. So to summarize up, of course, whether palm oil should be used for renewable energies is still up to debate. But for now, under the current situations, I think there's no major issues for this conversion. And in my opinion, I think the biodiesel is still serve as a good short and medium term solutions, especially to address the exponential demands of the fossil fuels increasing. And besides looking at the palm oil itself, I think a more holistic approach is that we also have to look at the overall palm oil plantation, where there are also non-oil parts of the palm oil tree. For example, it's biomass waste such as empty fruit branch, the palm oil fronds, and palm oil trunks that can also be utilized to making a lot of other renewable energies such as green diesel, bioethanol, other specialty chemicals as well. So if you look at all these whole pictures, so I think palm oil is a very good plantations for the renewable energies. Yeah, that's my take on that. Thank you.
So you have also touched on the waste to fuel as well, right? Using these biomasses, right?
Yes.
How are we? How far are we on this right now? Where are we exactly on this?
This progress, I think, is still not very fast. But I think with the current development in the R&Ds technology, I think we are slowly catching up, especially to those Western countries, the European countries. So of course, European countries that have the technology advancements where they have really start to actually have a lot of commercial or those larger scales productions from these agricultural waste to convert them into either for fuels, biofuels, or also for other specialty chemicals, like those done by companies such as Novozymes and also others major players in that. So, but in our country, I think we still have a lot of room for improvement. I think recently there are several new developments that I've heard of that has been starting up in Sabah and Sabah regions, where they have this kind of biomass waste to fuels and also to others bioproducts that have the pharmaceutical properties as well, such as those HMF and levulinic acids. So I think these plants and productions, once they become mature enough, that can actually be easily adopted across our countries. So I think this development will be a very much improvement in recent times. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Stephen. How about you, Dr. Kelvin? Do you have anything to add on this subject?
Yeah, just now Dr. Stephen gave a very nice explanation to that. I'm just adding to that lah. Okay, so when you mentioned about renewable energy, I think you mean the solid biomass, and then the liquid biodiesel, and then perhaps the biogas. Okay, so really, I think at the international level, I don't think that anybody has made any complaint about palm biomass and palm biogas. Right? There's even back then there was even the back then it was called what carbon company that actually came into Malaysia to actually invest in building palm biomass power plant and biogas lah. Then you will get the carbon credit as a additional profit for those projects. Okay, so for palm based renewable energy, whether it is a solid biomass or biogas, never an issue. The issue arises is related to biodiesel. I think whenever you talk about renewable energy, the general thing of the people in the industry is related to biodiesel, right? So what is it about the biodiesel that comes into this sensitivity, right? Why is it come into there? The situation again is talking about the type of subsidy available. Okay, the type of subsidy available whenever a country import biodiesel, and that subsidy comes from the receiving countries. But that countries unfortunately do not grow palm oil. Okay, that set of countries do not grow palm oil, and palm oil is also very much competitive to those countries, to those other oils are very much competitive. So then it becomes, you know, other issues start to crop into there and being mixed together. And then becomes an issue about using palm biodiesel as a renewable energy. Now, methyl esters or biodiesel is not invented for palm oil. It's not, right? It exists first before palm oil. Okay, and then the International Sustainable of Carbon Credit actually did the entire life cycle analysis, and then decided that palm biodiesel is entitled for that. Is entitled for that, right? They did all the studies, and then they said that it's entitled to that. So there should be no debate about the environmental benefits of palm oil, because the ISCC certification body actually start from the plantation and go all the way until the production of the biodiesel. It's a whole a life cycle analysis, right? So in that life cycle analysis, the scientific study has confirmed that biodiesel, whether it's palm or otherwise, is a good solution, good liquid solution for the environment. Is a good liquid solution. Here, if you talk about from business point of view, okay, from business point of view, then obviously using a palm oil or any vegetable oil to higher value products probably is a better choice. Probably is a better choice. Okay, so I don't think that any organization a big producer will rely on only producing biodiesel in their business. Any palm oil companies will not produce biodiesel as a company. It is just one of the products, sustainable products, that is being offered to the market. Okay, it will not be exclusively planting palm oil just to make biodiesel, because that alone doesn't make an economic sense, because that business is always running on a subsidy. It's always running on subsidy. So subsidized business is not a good business. Okay.
I agree with you, Dr. Kelvin.
Yeah.
So actually, we have been having a lot of questions as well in our chat box. Let me go with the second top voted question, right? The first sustainable development goal is no poverty. What has Malaysian palm oil industry achieved in the first sustainable development goal? Probably I will raise this to Dr. Carmen.
Sorry, can you repeat the questions again?
The first sustainable development goals is no poverty. What has Malaysian palm oil industry achieved in this first goal, SDG goal?
Okay, so in terms of no poverty, we need to offer job opportunity for them. We cannot just rely on the government to spoon feed everyone. So in terms of offering jobs, as I mentioned earlier, palm oil, whether plantations or mill, they are mostly based in a rural area, at a kampong area. So like our company, we do offer quite a lot of numbers of job opportunity for the locals, Malays or Indians. That's why I think in the long run, if our local people, they are willing to work in a hot or under the sun, or maybe we can say at a difficult environment. So we can offer this kind of job opportunity for them in order to overcome the poverty problems. But they need to be willing to accept that.
Okay, Dr. Carmen. So we have about 5 minutes before we get done with this discussion session. So I would like to just go towards the end of our panel discussion session, and to wrap up our session, I have one question. Is there anything else that you would like to say to your audience, especially in our event today? Most of the audience we can find the younger generation ones are here. So any particular advice that you could give to them? Maybe we can start with Dr. Stephen.
Yes, thanks, Ir Prasath. Well, of course, I think we can summarize that basically palm oil is one of our country's treasure. It's our country's major agricultural products. So if we are not there to actually develop and also defend these products, then who else will do it, right? So of course, this is one of our national treasure. So I think we should put more efforts to actually ensure that these palm oil products will be sustainable and also be able to address all the challenges and problems that come out of it. Of course, currently it's still not perfect. I mean, it still has shortcomings, especially in terms of its processing and issues surrounding its sustainability practices. But I think all this can be overcome if we have concerted efforts from all the stakeholders in the palm oil industry, and also for our younger generations, where if they are interested in this palm oil, so they should actually get more involved in this palm oil industry. Not to say that you really have to work in the plantations, but also in the related areas such as its downstream processes, oleochemicals productions, also in the R&D, the research and development projects, where we can actually help to discover and turn new technology to make our palm oil more sustainable. When, of course, younger generation usually have the perceptions that working in palm oil industry is the 3D jobs, difficult, dangerous, and tough. But nowadays, with the advancement of the technologies, I think most of the palm oil plantations already has been transformed into better working conditions, and they have a lot of tools and also technology to help us overcome all these issues. So I think in futures, there will be more improvement that can be made, such as with the artificial intelligence, with the AI technologies, with the robotics drones, these kind of things. So I think it can really transform our industry into a better one. So I will really implore all the younger generations to keep on supporting our palm oil industry and also join the research and development work related to it. Yeah, thanks all. Thank you.
How about you, Dr. Kelvin, from your end? You have a minute?
Yeah. So there is a current trend where the graduates, they join us in KL-K, they would like to participate in or join organization that that work on green products, green chemicals, green energies generally. Okay. So yeah, that's the current trend that we are seeing now. So my take this is that if you want to make an impact, you feel that you want to contribute, whether in matters related to climate change, in the betterment of humankind, I think that you can make use of that knowledge and apply that in the palm oil industry. Okay, when today we talk about palm oil industry, we seems to be a little bit skewed towards the plantation, but really the way where I am from is actually on the oleochemical manufacturing industry, right? So for those of you who felt that you are passionate, you want to do something that can reduce the CO2, you want to be more reduce water, I think this is a place where you can actually do something using your knowledge to do something, and not only talking about bringing specifically to this industry, but it is really an industry that is growing in Malaysia with some significant presence, and whatever effort you put here will be immediately impact a very big industry as a whole, and that will definitely impact the world in a positive way. So this is my comment. So please join us.
All right, Dr. Kelvin, how about you, Dr. Carmen? So to wrap up on your end.
Okay. First of all, I would like to speak on behalf of oil mill as well as oil palm plantation, because these two areas are the one that I'm working with. So we actually welcome all young generations. So from oil palm point of view, we are looking into an automation mill. Means that in order to reduce the dependency on our foreign labor, we would like to have more technology, more suitable machinery to support the current works, so that the local people or young engineer, when they join, they only need to monitor the machine, to play with the machines. They don't have to get their hands dirty onto all kind of dirty works or difficult work. So we welcome all the younger generations to join from this aspect. And I think for palm oil, for oil mill as well as refinery, currently our MOH has announced that these two areas have to be converted into because palm oil is a food grade product. That's why they have a new regulations that require every oil mill or every refineries to have a food analyst, to have a chemical engineering or nutritionist background students or graduates to join as a food analyst. That's why we are also looking for the expert in this area. So converting oil mill or plantations into a more machinery ways, and also to include the chemicals backgrounds personnel into the nutritional requirements as implied by our government. So I would say we do welcome all the young generation, and don't be afraid to all those difficult environment or station at the site, because we need to understand what actually happens in the ground before we can go back to the aircon conditions to go for the designing or come up with the idea on how to improve the industry. That's my advice for all the young generation.
Okay, thank you very much for all the panelists. So let me conclude our discussion for today. So we had a representation from both the academy as well as industrial experts weighing in their opinion on sustainability aspect of today's palm oil. We see the experts, especially our panelists today, representing a different background to give you a bigger picture in how the industry as whole is stepping up to address palm oil and its sustainability. I hope this discussion panel helps to provide a clear understanding in how we are positioning or have positioned ourselves to fulfill the future demand of palm oil without compromising its sustainability. And to those students who are here, you are the future of tomorrow. You are the future of palm oil industry. Get the information right and play your part to prosper the palm oil industry. With that, thank you very much, dear participants and panelists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prasath, and to all our panelists for that lively and extensive discussion. Time flies, and we have now come to the end of day one of SOMChE 2022. Once again, we would like to extend our gratitude to everyone for participating in this very special day. With that, we hope you have a good rest, and we shall continue to explore new findings and challenges tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., we will be having a SDG panel discussion moderated by Professor Ir Dr. Danny. And we are honored to have 5 panelists who are Professor Dr. Agamutu from Sunway University, Mr. Richard James from iChemie Sustainability Hub, Ms. Kasturi from KPMG Malaysia, IR Dr. Susanna from Tenaga Nasional Malaysia, and of course, Dr. Noor Faiza from Petronas Research. Do join us as it will be definitely an insightful discussion. And kindly take note that you have to register and sign in using the SOMChE Day 2 Zoom link for tomorrow's conference. Now, can I kindly ask everyone to turn on your camera for a quick photo session before we dismiss?
Thanks everyone for your support. Thanks Carmen, Prasath, Stephen, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Hi, Prof. Danny from
Hello.
Sabah.
Yes, good to see you. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Was good.
Thank you, appreciate that. And I can get, thanks Oscar, I can see a number of faces here. Thank you everyone still staying with us. I think let's take a group photo.
Yes, we shall take a group photo. All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll take one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay.